As Genshin Impact continues to take a nosedive off of a cliff, Wuthering Waves 2.6 has had a lot of ups and downs, but remains a quality product. From bugs to Augusta, controversy to Yuno's value, there's a lot to talk about. Wuthering Waves has made drastic improvements to the story content, but continues to raise questions like, why does Yuno have the sexy jutsu haircut? Or why do you look at Yuno fan art way more than you should? Sorry about my voice, by the way. I got sick from reading some of the defense for Genshin's most recent update.
Come on. Let's go! Let's go! See ya!
Speaking of the exotic dancer, it seems like some people aren't too happy with her kit, specifically the fact that she's strictly a heavy attack support tailor-made for Augusta. A requirement to get the maximum damage buffing out of her kit is shield stacking. And Jianshin, just kidding, Augusta is clearly the ideal DPS to use for her. On top of that, Yuno only applies a shield to herself in the first sequence node that has really caught my eye in this entire game's life cycle is here. Yuno's S4 applies a shield to herself and her teammates. Obviously, this is something that should be in her base kit. Might I remind you that Honkai Star Rail is the king of doing shit like this, where they lock base kit attributes behind Eidolons. Think Acheron's infamous E2, which is basically a requirement nowadays because it gets rid of the extra nihility character requirement to reach her damage potential. So it's easy to see why people are upset. The cringe sequence node on top of the very specific requirement for Yuno is weird because it makes her clingy and she wants the character that's coming out right before her. This is nothing new, as this trend started with Zani and Phoebe. Along with the first huge hiccup coming from Wuwa with the anniversary patch, Zani was a character that really wanted her partner to shine. Then we had Chikona and Cardathea, but this little shrimp is still very powerful without her partner. We kind of have the same situation with Augusta, at least I think we will. Augusta is already extremely powerful on her own. I do like the way power creep is being handled in Wuthering Waves. Your characters being irrelevant in 3 months would be pretty upsetting, especially if you play a huge part in these gacha revenue reports. But these partner situations happening so often isn't what I want to see from this title. I would hate to look back on this and see that Zani was the start of the downfall of team building in Wuthering Waves, because it's a great game and still has a lot of potential. Her partner Phoebe is an excellent character that is very versatile, making her a high value pull regardless of getting her for Zani. But in the case of Yuno, Augusta is already extremely powerful on her own, and the foot model isn't going to be close to the value of Phoebe. It's a good thing that Phoebe is so good because Zani feels a lot worse without her. Sadly, I can see some upcoming fan favorite characters like Galbraina and Chisa being reliant on partners because of their popularity, and they're going to sell more that way. It's good that people are talking about this, because you don't want this partner bullshit to continue being a thing, as Kuro hasn't given us the 4-star alternatives to fall back on like their peers. There's some that are actual troll characters, but I will say Mortefi is great for Augusta, and Sanwa being almost as good as Roshia for Camellia helps a lot too. Considering how fast Sanwa's forte circuit is, you only have to press a couple of buttons and then switch off of her. On the other hand, you have an Italian Lolly, who isn't a significant upgrade, but is one nonetheless. At least we're not in the same boat as Azure Premilia. I think we need to start checking hard drives over there. So making Yuno cater so much to Augusta is annoying, although she does have other teams that she can fit into. Gian, Phoebe, and Zani can make use of her because they benefit from some of her buffs. If you're an absolute simp and you've been specifically saving for Yuno, I can see her being used as a main DPS considering her buffs work for herself. Obviously, it probably won't be ideal, but there could be some room to do this. You can definitely do this when she comes out, because I'm sure Whimpering Wastes will make sure she's a top tier unit. I personally never liked Whimpering Wastes in the first place. And yeah, some of it does have to do with the fact that I'm not very good at the game. What? Wait, what? What? What the f just happened? Bro. I'm still better than your favorite CC, but I do respect that this mode gives AoE units a place to shine. This archetype or playstyle is very fun to play, so I still think that Wiwa is important to keep up with, as it's important to the long-term health of Wuwa. And considering their upcoming competition, Wuthering Waves has to keep their veteran players happy because they'll be quick to rotate if things get worse. But with the recent huge spike in HP inflation and cringe buffs, things haven't looked so good for the game mode lately. At this point, I'm pretty sure that some people wouldn't even play the mode if it weren't for the pulls, because it seems like one of the only ways to fully enjoy this mode is to pull the new characters. But specifically for Lova, who is clearly made for the game mode, and when you start balancing a mode around a character because their ceiling is so high, everyone else lags behind. It starts with the buffs. A general buff like Burning Waves has to be something that is online at all times instead of only activating later in these runs. And of course, the Use Frolova buff is still here, as well as the Use Augusta and Yuno buff. At least they're still on the right track when it comes to some sort of general buff, but Wiwa is still not very fun to play outside of a very niche audience. And no, I still don't like the Nightmare Echo system because you don't even get XP tubes from this nest. All you get is the Echo drops, and you have to eat that food or whatever in order to increase the Echo drop rate. It seems like this was something made in order to increase player retention, but it's all right, Kuro. I'm still playing the game a good bit. There was no need for this. A Nightmare Nest could just be a tacit field because there was nothing wrong with that system. And I don't remember anyone saying they wanted a more inconvenient way to farm echoes. Augusta also really loves this set. She's really picky, but you don't mind. You'll get her whatever she wants.
Silly puppy. Now follow me.
Lastly, I know some people don't have this issue because the story is very good and they play it as soon as a new update comes out, but locking new regions behind story is very annoying. If you pull new characters, their materials could be locked behind hours and hours and hours of story because you have to speed run to their regions. So yes, I hate partner units, and I think that Kuro needs to slow down when it comes to these type of releases. Zani Rover is still viable, but so much more inconvenient to play. Yuno isn't as annoying as a situation as Phoebe to me, but very specific kits make your pulls feel wasted. At least she's a large enough upgrade to the point where you will feel her strength, because it's gonna be hard to find maximum value out of a kit like this. Wiwa is mediocre though, and at least the story is still pretty good. The future is bright, and I can see the next story quest being very exciting. The next upcoming characters have great designs and even better animations than their predecessors. That's one thing I'll always be impressed with when it comes to Wuwa. I used to think that Jinxi's animations were the best I had ever seen in gacha, and then we have characters like Frolova and Augusta today. Jinxi's animations are still great too, but the character designs and animations lately have been peak. I'll give this patch a Degillion out of 10. Not really, but it's fine. I'm expecting more combat-oriented game modes in the future and a UGC mode because I was just kidding. Nobody cares about combat. Wait, hold on. Galbraina's drip just dropped. What do we think? I hope she's a DPS. Give me another Carlotta so I can close my eyes while I play this game and still clear shit out. Now it's time for the best part of the video, your gacha jargon word of the day. Today's word is another term. It's devs listened. This was the best definition I could find. Let me know the #1 devs listen moment in gacha history. Thank you for watching this far. You look cute today. Peace.